Alright, happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody. I hope you're all having an amazing day so far. In the past couple of days, we know that there's been a lot of things going on with Lucasfilm between Indy 5, the production of Skeleton Crew, and the Acolyte by Kathleen Kennedy, and where things are going, by the way, for the marketing of the Ahsoka Tano series, which, by the way, is going to ramp up this June, ahead of its July final trailer release date window. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And without further ado, let's get right into exactly what's going on here with the sequel trilogy films. Now, ever since the very end of 2019, we have not seen a Star Wars movie since. We can all blame that on Kathleen Kennedy, by the way. She's the one that called for a very long hiatus of Star Wars movies, but it wasn't just because of that. We were supposed to get one in 2022 by David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. That fell apart. Unfortunately, that was supposed to be a brand new trilogy focusing on The First Jedi, and basically what James Mangold is doing with Dawn of the Jedi. Those were the original ideas for David Benioff and D.B. Weiss that they were handed to by Disney. Now, the thing that's really interesting about what they have planned to add more entertainment value and likeness to the sequel trilogy has to do with a big plan for Disney of what they are considering a remake of the sequel trilogy movies through re-editing and refilming specific scenes and doing all these different ways of rearranging the sequel trilogy in different partitions. We're going to be talking about every single thing about what's going on here and exactly what it truly entails. Now, specifically, of course, given that both Disney and Lucasfilm are primarily focused on course-correcting the Star Wars brand right now, currently Disney has a grand plan to remake the sequel trilogy as a Hail Mary to boost the entertainment value from these movies. The big plan that Disney has is to release episodes 7, 8, and 9 in 2025, 27, and 29, all of which will hold deleted scenes becoming canon, new special effects getting added into the movies, as well as major scenes being rearranged, and also Disney planning to film new additional scenes to actually edit into these sequel trilogy special editions that will be released for their 10-year anniversaries separately. Now, with John and Dave involved and planned to look over the editing of these re-edits of the sequels, they are also going to be involved in creating new brief scenes that will be very powerful for the audience that will involve Hayden Christensen, Mark Hamill, and Daisy Ridley so far. However, it's unclear what new scenes are going to be filmed that will be reworked into the sequel trilogy movies. Even recently, Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, commented on the sequels being reworked, and he stated the following: "Well, we saw what George did with the originals way back when, and we were always inspired and impressed about that. But we started to think, how could we take that to the next level with the sequels? And that is something that we are working on right now for those films." So let me just stop right here quickly for 1 second, is that I will be very honest. I'm not quite sure if this is really going to fix anything, or if it's going to add any entertainment value at all, or any kind of likeness in a legitimate sense where you're going to have a lot of fans turning around and saying, "Oh, alright, I like the sequels now." I don't think it's going to be like that, but I think it will add more fun and more rewatchability perhaps toward the sequels. That's going to actually improve them, I guess. It's going to give it a little bit of a bump of improvement, but I don't believe it's going to be like, a magic pill to really cure what was so tainted by Kathleen Kennedy over the sequels. So when we look at what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are doing right now, is that they are not only creating a lot of retcons with their Star Wars TV shows that's going to impact the sequels, but they're also going to be involved as part of this plan by Disney to not only re-edit, refilm specific scenes, and to add in new scenes for the sequel trilogy for their 10-year anniversaries. That's going to be considered special editions. They're going to call it something else, by the way. And what's interesting about this is that this actually shows a sign of desperation. Disney is fully aware that they messed up big time with the sequel trilogy movies because they had no straight direct path or plan. That's why you had J.J. Abrams, then Rian Johnson, then J.J. came back because they could not get anybody else it was a big mess, you know, and Kathleen Kennedy kept on lying to everybody about how Palpatine was always in the cards since 2014. That ended up not being the case. JJ admitted that it was last minute. So look, I'm all here for it. If it's going to add more fun to these movies and more entertainment value, I'm all for that. I'm excited about this. But the only thing I will say is that I don't really think that this is going to fix anything in the grand scheme of things, right? So, if that's their overall motive, to fix the sequel trilogy through and through, I'm not quite sure if they're going to reach that goal. But moving on to the next thing here is that additionally, separate from what Iger stated, this all alludes to how they will be getting those like Hayden and Mark involved to participate in creating new scenes for the sequels, where also the pacing of these movies are going to change drastically. Also, unused John Williams music from the sequels will also be used, including the rescored version of Duel of the Fates that never made it to 9. This is Disney's plan to add more value and likeness to the sequel trilogy for fans. Now again, from what it sounds like is that they're trying to undo the Disneyfication of these Star Wars movies, and I'm not quite sure if you can really undo that. Now, at the end of the day, we know that George Lucas did special editions for the original trilogy. A lot of fans back then weren't the biggest fans of that. A lot of fans were used to the original cuts, but I'm sure a lot of you out there grew up with the special editions, of course. You know, it's a big deal for everybody that grew up with the VHS and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, too, Bob Iger points out that he was always inspired by that and always looking up to that, and how they are having conversations all the time about how they can take it up to the next level of doing like something like that with the sequels, except adding in brand new scenes that are going to be newly filmed content and stuff like that and thrown into these films, as well as shifting around the entire, you know, scenes for each movie independently. So look, I mean, we know that Kathleen Kennedy had a large hand in deleting a lot of scenes from all these films, and I think it's why at times 7, 8, and 9 feel a little disjointed, actually very disjointed, where you're kind of wondering like, what's missing here? There was something, it feels like that there were supposed to be certain scenes before other scenes or after other scenes. And that's exactly why it feels like that, is because there was so much material deleted from 9, and especially for The Force Awakens, but not a lot for The Last Jedi, believe it or not. Not a ton, nowhere near as close to The Rise of Skywalker, but a decent amount. The Rise of Skywalker, even Ian McDiarmid confirmed this, that they had so much deleted footage they could have made a second film, easily, he said. That was really surprising, and even Chris Terrio, by the way, the co-writer, suggested to Disney execs to make a part 2. He even brought it up to Kathleen Kennedy, let's make it into a 2-part show, or a movie I should say, and she refused to do that. She didn't want to do that. So, overall, I am really curious to hear what you guys have to say about this grand plan by Disney for the sequels. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today and everything related to what they are about to do with the 10-year anniversaries of these, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about that. And if you guys would like to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, thank you so very much. And I will catch you guys next time.